I want to introduce Melon Edemwanye to you this morning. She's head of head of production at Illustrate Digital in Cardiff. Melon is responsible for all product delivery at Illustrate Digital. Originally from Turkey, she is passionate about food and cooking, and recently has been very busy with Creative Mornings and Creative
Design
Digital
Festival.
Week.
Yeah.
So I give you Melon. Looking forward to her talk.
Hello everyone, thank you all for coming. And obviously thank you for the, Leslie's gone, introduction. So just to introduce myself quickly, I'm Melon Edemwanye. I'm a designer. I am obviously very fond of building communities and of course being part of communities. So I've always been interested in creating these places, spaces and facilitating these connections for people. So I explored this passion of mine by running a monthly event called Creative Mornings, like Leslie mentioned. And of course this is also why I love WordCamps and the WordPress community. My current role is head of production at Illustrate. So just to talk about Illustrate real quickly, Illustrate is a bunch of smart, caring, weird, fun or funny, you may say, people who makes websites only on WordPress, obviously. And I've joined Illustrate 6 years ago. Absolutely love working with these guys, and they seem to kind of enjoy working with me, which is weird, but they do. And if you want more info, obviously go to our website, so I won't bore you with that anymore. So we can start the talk with a quick history of UX. So I'm wondering how many designers we have in the room. Nice, great, okay. How about developers? Almost bad. You're a designer and a developer. Yeah? Nice. Yeah. What about managers? Yeah. Directors, managers. Okay, great. It's a nice mix. So I want to give a bit of history of UX because I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Also, I feel that if we can start relating to it better and get into the thinking, we can sell it better to our clients, and we can also make better UX hires and hopefully keep a more observant eye on it. So, can you guess how far UX design goes back? In, UX thinking, anybody?
In digital or in life?
In life, just in the world, in Earth. 6,000 years. So Feng Shui, I'm going to talk about Feng Shui. Feng Shui claims to use energy to harmonize energy forces to harmonize individuals with their surrounding environments. Literally translates as wind and water. And in practice, Feng Shui is all about arranging your surroundings in the most optimal, harmonious, and a user-friendly way. So this could be an office, it could be a bedroom, or a whole entire building. It considers everything from layout and framework to material and colors. Just like an interior designer might arrange the furniture in a way that makes it easy for people to navigate in a room, a UX designer would apply certain principles in designing a website or a mobile app or software. Basically, the aim is the same. It is to create an intuitive, user-friendly experience. So from this perspective, we could say that Feng Shui was one of the earliest mindsets of user experience. Bit more history. 5th century BC, Greek civilizations designed their tools and workplaces based on ergonomic principles. So according to I'm going to read this. According to the International Ergonomics Association, ergonomics is the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of interactions among humans and other elements of a system, and the profession that applies theory, principles, data, and methods to design and optimize human well-being and overall system performance. So a really strong example from ancient Greeks for this is the way Hippocrates, if I want to be Greek, described how surgeons' workplace should be set up. This is brilliant, right? The surgeon may stand or be seated in a posture comfortable for him, and the arrangement of tools, they must be positioned in such a way as not to obstruct the surgeon and also be within easy reach when required. So the fact that he's actually put this thought into and writing this as a rule sounds a lot like UX design, right? Or UX design thinking. So the thinking is there. Sorry, it was there, guys, if you want to take a picture now. I'm a little bit late. Early 1900s, Frederick Winslow Taylor was a mechanical engineer and pioneer of Taylorism. Has anyone heard of Taylorism? Okay, that's good, because that's what I'm here. Taylor was interested in making human labor more efficient, so he conducted an extensive research into the interactions between workers and their tools. So in 1911, he wrote The Principles of Scientific Management, in which he says systematic management is the solution to inefficiency. Although Taylorism was criticized at the time for its machine-like approach to humans, and the focus on optimizing the relationship between humans and their tools, but yet still it's a lot like the key principles of UX design. Toyota, I'm sure you've heard of Toyota's amazing production system. So the 40s, they developed their famous human-centered system, and this was based on respect for people and creating the optimal working environment for them. So there's a few things that's really important about it. One of them is the input that was considered crucial was that it was encouraging for the users or the workers to be active. So basically, it was the first great example of usability testing. The factory workers could pull the cord to stop the production line if they had feedback or suggestions. And that obviously improved the quality of the production. So, no matter how advanced the technology is, its value, something is not working, but I'll carry on. Its value is limited to its usability, basically. My screen is not syncing, Leo. Should we just start again and see how that works? Right. Sorry. Let's see if it's going to work now. No. Oh. There's no delay. Okay, right, we've got something. Not that slide wasn't working, it's fine. Right, another key figure is an American industrial engineer. He's called Henry Dreyfus. I can't say his surname. It's fine. Google him. So he's famous for designing and improving the usability of some of the most iconic products, like the Hoover vacuums cleaners and the tabletop telephones, the Royal Typewriter companies, a special model for a typewriter. In 1955, he wrote Designing for People, which pretty much explains UX design in a nutshell. When the point of contact between the product and the people becomes a point of friction, then the designer has failed. On the other hand, if people are made safer, more comfortable, more eager to purchase, more efficient, or just plain happier by contact with the product, then the designer has succeeded. It's a perfect little explanation of what we should be aiming for. This is a very interesting one, and I love talking about this because our next UX design thinker is Walt Disney. So obviously engineers aren't the only ones who've had a part to play in the history of understanding UX. He might not seem like an obvious candidate, but I want you to stop and think how much he cared about creating experiences, these magical experiences with Disney. So we all know he was obsessed with creating immersive, perfect user experiences, and the way he set Disney World was actually a true piece of UX genius. He called his engineers Imagineers. How cute. And his principle set for them was know your audience, wear your guest's shoes, communicate with color, shape, form, and texture. UX, basically. So we are jumping to 1970s and 90s, obviously the era for Xerox, Apple, and personal computers. So in the 90s, the psychologists and engineers were working together to focus on the user experience. Many of the most influential developments came out of Xerox PARC Research Center at the time, such as the mouse. So Donald Norman, this cute guy, was the first person to have UX in his job title. And of course, he worked in Apple. He was a cognitive scientist who joined their team in the early 90s, and his title was User Experience Architect. He came up with the term user experience design as a way of encompassing all that is UX. As he explains, so he invented the term. I love this. I invented the term because I thought human interface and usability were too narrow. I wanted to cover all aspects of person's experience with the system, including industrial design, graphics, the interface, the physical interaction, and the manual. So basically, UX, as now we've seen and heard, it is the whole of experience. So it is not just the physical, it's not just the graphics, and it's not just the interaction, it's all of it coming together. What is UX today, I hear you ask? Are you yeah? Okay. So, the way user experience the product, a service, and a space. UX refers to overall experience that a user is interacting with a product or a service in a given environment. So it can be anything that can be experienced, and anything that can be experienced can be designed. That could be packaging of a toothbrush to wheels of a chair, so anything. Most importantly, I want you to know that UX isn't just for the end user. UX is a way of thinking for us to help the user, so UX design isn't limited to the digital space. The users are in a physical place or space, and they have physical conditions, and so it is the UX designer's job to consider those. Which brings us to accessibility. Hopefully you've all watched Maya's talk. And easy navigations, good use of colors. All of these are physical experiences that we are creating through digital. So what is changing? In order for humans to make the most out of complex systems like websites and computer programs or any product, we, the designers, had to think about how people interact with those same products, right? And to look for ways to make those interactions more intuitive and more straightforward and easy. Remember, UX design isn't limited to digital products. So for me, the change is obviously mostly within the power of WordPress. We're also now thinking about the teams who uses and manages the content of the websites that we build and their experiences too. So we aren't just designing for our clients and their audience, the end user, but we also design and work for our clients' experiences and making their experience of managing their sites better. And how do we achieve this? And what changes if we start thinking in blocks? Definitely more planning. A lot more planning. So the web is all about efficiency. And of course, this requires planning. At Illustrate, we find that planning for blocks take more time. It does sound like it should be easier, but it does take more time because our process usually is strategy sessions with client, research, concept creation, presentations, wireframes, mock-ups, then building, testing, you know the drill, and goes on until we make the site live. So our process, as in steps that we take, don't necessarily change, but we find that the designers and our dev team are having a lot more conversations, which means there are a lot more questioning to the client at the beginning of the project, mainly, because it is about efficiency, so a lot more thought needs to go into how we can create new users for each blocks that we suggest, with tweaks or little changes, but yet still answer clients' briefs without building extra blocks. So with basically just being a lot more, environmentally friendly. So we are recycling things. Yes, we can recycle blocks. So we ask questions such as, can we recycle them? How can we bring visual elements and the brand across? And mainly, do all the blocks work together or flow together? So we can recycle them by adding or taking little bits out. Sometimes this may be as simple as adding a background option or a slider functionality to an image or a text block. So it really depends on what the design of the block is. We think a lot simpler, but we find that clients are actually happy with our simple suggestions because they know that they are saving time and they're getting more out of the designs and more out of their money for value. Visual elements and making things non-blocky is the main thing. So we constantly work with developers on our ideas as designers, and they constantly say no to us, obviously. Or they're like, do I have time to do that? Because then that's fine. So it is about working within the budget, but also working together and trying to be creative within that. They don't always obviously like the visual elements, so we want to do all these cool things, but it doesn't always flow. So there's a lot of comments. But what we do is we come up with stuff that can be or can look random to the uneducated eye, but we know it's not random. To make them all work together, a lot of testing needs to be done from dev and designers to determine all those little things like the odd shapes, different backgrounds. So I'm going to give you some examples. A recent site that we have designed in blocks is Liberty. The little video, is it working? Yeah. Here we use some tricks like, obviously, colors were quite strong, and what we try to do is each block is quite interactive, so it kind of takes away the blocky feeling. We did keep each block really simple. Yeah, I feel like because they are mainly simple with no background, they actually flow a lot better. Yeah, I think with this site, making sure that each block was interactive and colourful was great. So one of the things that we kind of, between us, kind of struggled with was you'll see in a minute, where there was a background shape is one of their branding, visual element from their branding. In this page, you'll see, is that it was going over a few blocks, and obviously our developers didn't like that. But we prefer it. And it's great because this is a page that they basically created, so we didn't supervise this. So it's just good to know that they can create such beautiful pages without us. So client agency benefits are obviously flexibility. They, instead of waiting for us or working within templates, they can just create their own pages from the blocks. They have the maximum influence on the user. That is a dog. Yeah, there we go. As the business grows, the requirements of their customers and demands change. They can adapt their layout to meet these demands, so they feel like they're in control. And time, obviously, our developers save a lot of time because we don't have to create templates and keep doing revisions to a whole template, which used to be quite painful. And for designers, we also end up repeating blocks, and we're like, ta-da, it's a brand new block, but it's actually not. It's actually, we just took out the icons and like changed it. I'm telling you all our secrets now. Great for consistency throughout the site. So just to show you, this isn't live yet. I had to really push to show you this, but really quickly, we won't look at it a lot, right? So all of these blocks have alternatives. You can see that timeline as an alternative with image and text. These have alternatives without buttons and with icons, no icons, backgrounds. These random circles can be on and off, and sliders can become a non-slider. So I'm talking very quickly because you've not seen this. So yeah, that's a approach that we've had for this beautiful site. Some downsides. I mean, it could be limiting. It could feel like you're quite limited because you have to constantly work in little blocks, and then it could sound boring because you can't do all this crazy, beautiful designs and lots of different colors and stuff. You can't do that. The fact that we're limited with the visual elements does sound really boring, and yeah, like less crazy elements. But saying that, here is a don't go. Come back. This isn't working, Scott. No. Okay, we can't. This is terrible. I love this site. I was going to show you our Gutenberg. Everybody go to the Gutenberg site.
Get your phones out.
Get your phones out now. The GutenbergSite.com, please. Thank you. Thank you for accommodating this. So I did say it could be limiting or boring, but it's actually just for argument's sake, because we made the site and we had a lot of fun doing it. And sorry to brag, but I think it looks great. So it doesn't look boring, right? What do you think? So this site was all built in blocks and Gutenberg.
What's the address?
The GutenbergSite.com. I know, I can see your faces, I like it. Also, if you are looking for any resources, we basically built this as a passion project. This isn't a client work. We've done this because we've been going to WordCamps and we've realized there's been a lot of that. Oh, cool, someone's watching a video. Oh. Okay, so we've done it as a passion project because there were so many talks around Gutenberg, and we thought, what can we do that we learn about Gutenberg, but also bring all the resources together in one page, because there was blogs, there's the main WordPress site, and so what you can do is just look at it from different perspectives on the site as a developer, as a designer, and get all the resources, click, read. Moving on. Challenges are this basically just developers and designers need to just hang out a lot like this and learn to love each other more. Yeah, they have to work closer. I have talked about this, so I don't need to repeat because I think I'm running out of time. Benefits of the developers, right? Please bear with me. I'm not a developer. But basically, you can build once and maintain and control it all in one place. So there's no duplication of a template. That means you don't have two sets of CSS, right? From a front-end point of view. And code is less bloated. So, and also, once making the sites live, adding something to the site is easier, apparently, because you can work from a nice and tidy code base. Designing on blocks is simpler for coding, because if you want to make additional designs, you normally would have been creating more code. Developers, you can stop me if I'm saying something. No, I'm good. I've always asked our developers. In summary, Blogs have given us new considerations. We're thinking about how our customers interact with the sites we built for them on the content management system, obviously. And we're giving them more flexibility and a better experience using their sites. It's easier. They love that they can edit and move around blocks and they have that control. And this makes our working relationship easier, nicer, by enabling us to say yes more, by saving them time, and again, making them feel a lot more in control on their own journeys. So I feel like we're creating a new perception of freedom. This is my statement bit at the end of my talk. And that is creating a new user experience. And that is how we are hoping to keep changing things by improving, not just for end users, but our clients and our content managers' own journeys. Thank you.
Really interesting.
Okay.
I love that one.
Do we have questions?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Surprise, surprise.
Yes.
That one beautiful website, the Dubin website.
Yes.
That wasn't really built with basic functions, was it?
Basic functions.
Like with the
Scott is going to answer to your question then.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that if the let's say the basic user would come to the Gutenberg and he wants to create a site like this, and he's not CSS savvy or JavaScript savvy, there's no way you can build that with his abilities. Okay?
Yeah, no, so it's an ACF Gutenberg implementation.
Yeah.
Just makes the process so much easier. But yeah, it's not the sort of like standard out of the box or anything like that.
Yeah.
But more of an opportunity to show our clients from a back end perspective as well what they're able to do when they actually come to use the site. So.
And also just to show what can be done and how much fun that can be, that is there to be have.
Anyone
Liz?
else? Yeah.
Do you have any metrics around if you're scoping out a project and you know you're going to have to write half a dozen bespoke blocks as a minimum? What sort of budget you would put in? Do you do it per block? Do you try and figure out the complexity of it?
We do, so in our first conversations with the client, we do start talking about the amount of blocks. So yeah, it does depend on their request. So if they have an intensive list of blocks, that will affect the budget for sure. And I think we do explain to them the flexibility that they have means that we have to spend a lot more time in the research. So the research time is longer, and yeah, that's where we can kind of add to the budget. But if they have, so we obviously there are some basic blocks that you assume that every website will have. If they are keeping within that and each block doesn't have much functionality, because what we do in that research time, the discovery time, is figure out what functionality each block has, if they're expecting them to do things, and also like, you know, CSS is quite important. So from a front end perspective, are they expecting crazy animations or transitions? So all of that feeds into it. So we can do it both ways. We either say, yeah, this is all of it and this is the budget, or they may say, this is our budget for now and we will build within that budget, but looking to improve it. So we will always say, look, this is your groundwork and this can go here. So we know that we can keep that relationship then and then keep improving those blocks. But we will know, you know, while developing it, that that's going to go.
Straightforward to suddenly having, as you say, lots of crazy animations
Yeah.
and transitions.
Yeah.
Actually, to the client, they may
Yeah.
they're trying to figure out.
You have to keep having those conversations. So each step that we show them stuff, and we sometimes come up with ideas and we think they're great, but we know that's going to add to the cost.
Yeah.
So it's about selling them that as well in each step. Be more flexible.
Time for one more. Yes, come on.
Can you tell us more about the design workflow and if that changes after you implement this block system? Do you usually like view the whole pages and then identify the blocks, or do you like design all the blocks separately and then apply them to the final interface, like Atomic or
Yeah. So we have, first of all, we create a concept. So we have an idea of what sort of a feel that we're looking for. So like, do we want it really spaced out? Do we need a colorful? Like, what's the role of the colors are going to be? Imagery. So we have an idea, and then we moved on to functions and like go into more detailed. Then we will think about each block, and we start actually writing the functionalities as we are designing then. And like I said, we're literally talking to the developer at all times. So we will have an idea of, like, say, having a tab system or sliders in a really different way, like the Gutenberg side where it like scrolls, but it's actually not scroll, you know, all of that. We will have to have discussions for non-straightforward ones and actually document them. So there's a lot more documentation now at the beginning of the project. While as I think before we would design it and then start the documentation and we will have a handover. Now the handover is a bit more blurry because we actually do the whole process together and document it as we're designing.
Lynn, will you be in support?
Yes, I think I have to, don't I?
Okay, so if there's further questions, Millen will go down to the support room for a little while, and you're around anyway, aren't
yes,
you?
Yeah.
So thank you very much. It was a very interesting
you.
topic. And next up we have our next speaker, Rumis, on the very large side of WordPress, and in the other room we see Chris Brosnan scaling effectively with WordPress. Okay?